Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm back with a tabletop simulator version of Clue with a story. And in today's story is case number 2, which is Who Stole Miss Scarlet's Diamonds. Now, as you can tell, the rules of this solo story game is simple. The first player, which is the single player, will get 6 cards, whether you get a lot of rooms, a lot of weapons, or a lot of suspects, except for one, which is who is the culprit or perpetrator, or even in any case, the murderer. And as you can tell, we only have about 12 cards to reveal to figure out if the perpetrator did this in this room with a certain weapon. And apparently, if it reveals in one of these cards, that means it's not the weapon. So, to get started with the story, before we get started to the story, I just want you to leave a like if you enjoy this kind of content, and also subscribe to the channel, and turn on these notifications so you won't miss a single upload. So with that being said, let's try to read the story. "Ah, Mr. Barty!" exclaimed Miss Scarlet, as she swept into the study. "Alone at last." "Yes, yes," agreed her cheerful host. "Except for me, of course." Miss Scarlet looked confused. "And except for—" Mr. Barty gestured toward Mrs. White, who sat slumped in the dark leather armchair, snoring loudly. Miss Scarlet drew closer. She draped her red bow, and to clarify, it's pronounced B-O-A, as in like a feather bow, that you use whether you wear when you're performing or just being dressed up. Anyway, she draped over her red bow over Mr. Barty's shoulders. She lowered her voice to a silky whisper. "Reginald, darling, I've wanted a moment alone with you all evening." Mr. Barty blushed. "Oh, have you?" "Yes, dearest. You see, I have these—" She lowered her voice still further. "Diamonds." She delicately fingered her large, glittering diamond necklace. Mr. Barty stared at the jewels and said, "Diamonds? What diamonds?" "Oh, those diamonds." Mrs. White let out a giant snore. I can't even do it. As she slept. Okay, now here's the rest of the story. Peacefully, in the armchair, Miss Scarlet eyed her for a moment, and then continued. "I was wondering if you had a place where I could keep them safe overnight." "Of course, behind my ducks." Miss Scarlet arched her pencil-thin, dark eyebrows. "Ducks?" "Yes, you know. Quack, quack." Mr. Barty crossed to the study wall and pointed to the painting that hung there. 3 ducks flew over a large pond, quacking. He lifted the painting off the wall. Behind it was a large gray metal safe. "Ah," sighed Miss Scarlet. "Perfect." She collapsed the necklace. Mr. Barty turned to the safe. He put one hand on the dial. Then he turned back to look at Miss Scarlet. She was looking at him intensely. Miss Scarlet, this will sound silly, but the combination to the Botti safe has been a secret in the Botti family for generations. Would you mind? Of course, Miss Scarlet said, and she sailed out of the room. I'll be in the library when you're done. Mr. Botti watched her go. Then he locked the door behind her. He left the latchkey in the keyhole just in case anyone tried to peep in. Then he bent over and peered into Mrs. White's eyes. They were tightly shut. She was still sound asleep. Good, he told himself, returning to the wall safe. Now I have total privacy. He was wrong. For no sooner had he locked the study door than Colonel Mustard had appeared by the door. He pressed his ear to the door to listen. Then there was the secret door that led to the secret passageway to the kitchen. The door was locked, but Professor Plum stood hidden behind it. He had overheard Mr. Butty's entire conversation with Miss Scarlet. And then there was the face pressed against the study window, Mr. Green. And of course, Mrs. White wasn't really sleeping. Go figure. As soon as Mr. Body turned his back, she opened her eyes slightly to form narrow slits. She watched as her employer silently turned the dial of the safe. Hours later, a zigzag of lightning crashed down onto the mansion's vast green grounds. For an instant, the huge 12 I can't even pronounce this word, gabled house was lit up brightly, thunder booming, a driving rain slashed noisily downward. Then utter darkness returned. But if someone had been watching the mansion when the lightning struck, they would have caught a glimpse of a masked figure. The masked figure stood by a third-floor window. The figure clutched the gold candlestick. In a black gloved hand. The candlestick held a lit white candle, guiding the thief through the mansion's many dark, narrow passageways. The masked figure moved stealthily down the carpet stairs. Just then, a squat, balding man in green pajamas emerged from his bedroom. 3 sheep, sneered the man. 4 sheep. And if I catch any of you sheep, I'll cook you for supper. It was Mr. Green, who couldn't sleep. He began climbing down the carpet stairs. The masked figure ducked into the shadows. In the nick of time, Mr. Green passed by, only a few inches away. 6 sheep, he growled. Why can't I sleep? 7 sheep. Ugh. Just drinking water. Anyways, the figure continued quietly downward, down to the first floor, into the kitchen, and through the secret passageway into the study. Using two gloved hands, the thief carefully removed the duck painting, knowing the combination by heart. The masked figure easily opened the safe's massive door. Inside lay the gleaming jewels. The next morning, my diamonds! They're gone! Miss Scarlet swooned into the arms of Professor Plum. I'm so sorry, Mr. Body told her, wringing his hands. I can't understand how anyone could have known the combination to my safe. Do you have any idea, Professor? Let me see. The professor scratched his head with one hand. He gripped his book with the other. That left no hands to hold Miss Scarlet, who crashed to the ballroom floor. Sorry, he said. I forgot I was holding you. You're all suspects, gasped Miss Scarlet. As she got back to her feet, she pointed at the 5 other guests. All of you, including you, observed Mrs. Peacock dryly. Me? Miss Scarlet's voice went up 3 octaves. I think it's octaves. Why would I steal my own diamonds? To collect $1 million worth of insurance, said Mrs. Peacock. She held up an insurance form. This fell out of your overnight bag. I've been meaning to give it back to you all weekend. Excuse me. So, now that you heard the story, the question is, who stole Miss Scarlet's diamonds? If it isn't Miss Scarlet herself, then who could it be? Well, that's why we're going to play the game of Clue to find out. Even though we do have a bit of a hint, and the hint was that the candlestick was the weapon, even though there is no murder in case number 2 or chapter 2 of the first issue of the story. But what we do know for certain is that the candlestick is one of the weapons. But it's not used for murder. It was used for trying to lit up the rooms. And also, I can remove the lead pipe as a potential weapon as well. So we can all assume that all of these weapons does not go to the masked figure. And we definitely know for sure that the study is one of the rooms that the masked figure is headed to get the diamonds. Okay, so the next thing is the dining room, library, ballroom, and hall. Those are the rooms that are technically not where the masked figure is. Along with other rooms. And also we all know that Mr. Green was not the masked figure because he was in the kitchen. So we can put the kitchen, we put an X in the with the kitchen room. Okay. So, this leads to the ultimate question. Who did it? Who is the masked figure? Who did the deed? And that's the answer that we must figure it out. So as of right now, I am playing as Mrs. White because obviously Tabletop Simulator wants me to play the one character that I'm restricted to play instead of having me choose who I wanted to play as. But never fear, because at this moment let's go ahead and place the candlestick, even though it's in the lounge, but the candlestick is in the study, because the masked figure was in the room to try to get the the diamonds, of course. So let's go ahead and roll the dice to determine our movements. Okay, we have a 6 and a 5, which leaves a total of 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're definitely getting close. Let's say, for example, I choose to interrogate, and I decided that it could have been Mrs. Peacock because she was trying to frame Miss Scarlet for stealing the diamonds for herself, even though it was her diamonds. And it probably took place in the study with the candlestick. So what we do here is we're going to flip these cards to see who is, if I get Mrs. Peacock, which is this one right here, that means that Mrs. Peacock was not the masked figure. She was not the masked figure, even though she was falsely accusing Miss Scarlet. Alright, so let's move on. Alright, so let's move on to the second roll. This may be a short video. Well, not short, but it's a short gameplay. Let's see, 2, that's 5. So let's count it. 1, 2, and over here we have the knife, which is not the weapon that the masked figure used. 3, 4. This is the kitchen, and it's a secret passageway, and it puts us right into the study. There we go. So there's the candlestick, there's the study, and I'm going to declare, well, not declare, I'm going to make an accusation. Because what I see so far is we have Colonel Mustard, which, by the way, he is not the perpetrator. He is not the perpetrator because even though he was listening, but he is also one of the cards that I flipped over here, that I flipped over previously. So we can confirm that Colonel Mustard didn't do it, and also Miss Scarlet. Well, I would say Miss Scarlet didn't do it because it's her diamonds. She can't steal her own diamonds. But it's safe to say that Professor Plum didn't do it because I don't see him care about the diamonds. At least not that I know of. So that leads down to Miss Scarlet and Mrs. White. And I have a feeling I know who it is. Because the person saw the combinations. And whatever reason may be, it has to be Mrs. White. And the reason is because she was pretending to be asleep, while Miss Scarlet is already out of the room and was headed to the other room, which I think is... I'm trying to remember what it is. I think it could be the lounge. So, it has to be Mrs. White. It has to be Mrs. White. Because why else would she still be in the study? So, I'm going to accuse Mrs. White, who is the masked figure, in the study with the candlestick. Let's open this envelope to see if I'm right. Okay, so we got Mrs. White. We got the study. And we got the candlestick. So it has been confirmed that Mrs. White was the masked figure, and she was the only person that was holding the candlestick like she was looking for some light and all that stuff. And she was headed to the study because she saw the combination while she was pretending to sleep, which is pretty messy if you know what I mean. So you're probably wondering, is that the solution? Well, let's find out. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen, that's the solution. Mrs. White in the study with the candlestick. Only two suspects could have seen Mr. Body open the safe, thus could have memorized the combination. Mrs. White and Mr. Green. We can eliminate Mr. Green as the suspect. He was busy counting sheep on the stairway. That leaves Mrs. White. She was the masked figure with the candlestick. She's now a millionaire, but to avoid suspicion, she knows she must never sell or even wear the diamonds. At last she must keep on working as Mr. Butty's bitter maid. And the case has been solved, ladies and gentlemen, and that is who the masked figure is. It was Mrs. White with the candlestick in the study because she was trying to get the diamonds, and now she is a millionaire. So that is it for today's video, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this kind of content. And if so, once again, leave a like, subscribe, turn on these notifications so you won't miss a single upload. And I'll see you all in the next case of the story of Clue. But for now, make sure you stay safe and have a wonderful day.